Time is unaccountable. The earth is vast. With the elapse of unaccountable time, Mother Earth has transformed from a mass of burning flames to a cradle of life. The macrocosm of the living, the plot of existence of mankind is nothing. Nothing but a tiny blot of dust or a droplet of rain in the hullabaloo of the eternal cosmos. But how did it all begin? With this unanswered question, we return and re-return to the planet, to nature, trying to catch yet one more time the first second of life on the lap of the cold mass. The mysterious poetry recited from the inner depths of nature, the poetry of creation, is yet to be deciphered. This poetry is being deciphered by science with every step of evolution. But science doesn't stand alone. Myths and lores, since the dawn of man's history, have tried to unravel the mysteries of existence. The Puranas, for instance. And there, belief meets science. With the mythology of the 10 incarnations of Vishnu, it has woven in its Dashavatar narrative the very fundamental existence of mankind and man's primary process of evolution. These avatars are the Vahanas of Vishnu, and with the onset of violence among mankind, they have taken turns and emerged to restore peace in the disrupted face of the earth. Since the dawn of civilization, they have surfaced in different times, in different forms, to deflect men from the path of antagonism. The earth has a cold heart now. Time, as we know it, has traversed infinite depths with the dawn of violence. The violence that had rooted its stay amongst the human race since time immemorial. has a cold heart now. Now, when humans are nothing but the embodiment of that indestructible violence. This violence has set fire to each street, avenue, house, and cradle, turning the world to a huge grave of dust and bones. And bodies walk on that grave with hollow-eyed silhouettes. In the broadest of daylight, empty red eyes, crippled bodies, and skin turned to ash. Those bodies, so grey and feeble, have ribs so strong, like those iron gate boundaries which have divided men over spaces and territories. Inside the metal cages reside their hearts, hearts so red, pumping with every passing pulse the increasing desire for blood, for violence. This desire has dragged men to set fire to the lap of our Mother Earth for times unaccountable, times which are unsaid of and unheard of, told and retold. In the core of that aflame bud throbs the cold heart of the earth. The earth has a frozen heart now. And from the darkness of that cold heart rises the Kalki, ablaze. Now, we stand face to face with our own destruction, killing one another in just a blink of an eye. On contrary, the span of creation of the universe involved a long, mysterious process. To know the origin of our existence, one needs to travel backwards, to the very beginning of time. Oh, the past! The distant past. What man would give to go back to the point where it all started, where life first emerged in the universe, enclosed in a microcosmic singular cell. Oh, the wise past. How man has tried to freeze that first moment and witness it all, the unseen dawn of life. With each passing second, take us to the time when the earth was lifeless, and the first traces of our green and blue planet were just about to originate. The fragmented molten mass was burning, spinning in an insurmountable speed, lifeless and destructive to its core. With the elapse of unaccountable time, Mother Earth has transformed from the mass of luminosity to a cradle of life. On that planet where life was abandoned, appeared the conqueror of fire, water. Years after years, water poured from space, cooling every bit of the surface of the earth and driving back the fire to the core. Vast water bodies take up the space on the lap of the newly formed planet Earth. This evolution was not rapid or sudden. It took centuries and centuries for the fiery mass to transform into the planet of the living. life on the planet came into being as a single-cell organism, as petite as one could have ever imagined. From that tiny cell, life sprouted towards bigger, fuller, and moving bodies. Air, water, and land all got invaded and resided in by these creatures. The creatures, living and moving, have undergone years of transformation. Scientific theories and the books of myths around the globe suggest that life as we know it now had taken its form first in water, as the fish, the Matsya. According to the Puranas, the Matsya avatar is the first incarnation of Vishnu. The Padma Purana narrates that Rishi Kashyap's other half, Diti, gave birth to Makar, and Makar stole the Vedas from Brahma. In the absence of the Vedas, the books of laws, chaos dawned upon the face of the earth. At this juncture, Vishnu took the form of the Matsya and killed Makar. He revived the Vedas and peace was restored. This mythological narration hints at the advent of life on earth in the form of fish. Studies in science have hinted about the origin of life in water. The world as we know it today was filled with swarms of fish in the huge expanse of its water bodies, twisting and turning in the whirlpool of oceans and seas. But on land, life was yet to appear. New life befell the ground in the form of the tortoise. This creature lived mostly in water, but also on land. Oh, the first step on the soil of our planet. The Puranas narrate the existence of part water and part land creatures through the story of Vishnu's incarnation as the Kurma or the tortoise. The heavenly gods lost their power when Rishi Durvasha cursed them. Now, the only way in which the heavenly beings could revive their strength was by drinking the Amrita. While the gods were perplexed about how to acquire the Amrita, Vishnu took the form of a tortoise and swam deep down to the bottom of the sea to begin the Amrita Manthan. The gigantic Mandar mountain was placed on Kurma's stone-like back shell, and the Manthana began. The heavenly beings of the three worlds became just as powerful as they were before the Maharshi's curse. The times of cosmic imbalance was once more reverted and peace was restored. Life from the depths of water has now paved up to the surface of the earth. Greenery has sprouted from the mass of the earth, forming an evergreen, lustrous cradle of plants and leaves, fruits, water, and lives. Fins have now evolved to limbs. The new creatures are faster than the previous living beings, the amphibians. They are intelligent and conscious. Here evolved the mammals who feed on their mother's milk and open their eyes to the silver lining in the sky. Vishnu's third incarnation is in the form of a boar. His incarnation was not uncalled for. Yet again, the ghastly shadow of catastrophe befell our world. The demon, Hiranyaksha, abducted Bhudevi to the cosmic depths of water. This brought in the Pralaya Kal on the living. Vishnu, taking the form of the Varaha, descended to the depths of the ocean and defeated the demon. The eclipse on Mother Earth was lifted and peace was restored yet one more time in the universe. Although phases of evolution do not mention that the formation of mammals furthered itself to an anthropomorphic form of man and beast, fiction goes beyond limit. Accordingly, a transitional form was imagined where the upper body of an animal was rested on the limbs of a man. Vishnu's next incarnation, Narasimha, half lion and half man, emerged in a time of crisis. Narasimha came when the tyrant Hiranyakashipu threatened to kill even his own son and obliterate anyone who did not accept the monarch to be the ultimate truth. At twilight, placing the oppressor on his thighs, Narasimha tore apart the body of the king, putting an end to his violence and pride. According to science, it had taken years for the ape to transition into a human form called the Homo erectus. The Homo erectus was very short in height, low in weight, but developed in intelligence and emotional quotients. In the ladder of evolution, they were the first total human form that appeared on the face of the world. Today's modern society calls them dwarves, and mythology named the Homo erectus as the Vamanas. The Vamana, the fifth incarnation of Vishnu, was called in a time of crisis on our planet Earth. When the world was darkened by the brunt of pride, suppression, and exploitation of King Bali, Vishnu appeared. This time, he took the form of a dwarfed man. he asked King Bali for space equal to 3 of his tiny steps. Amused, Bali granted his wish. Immediately, Vishnu started transforming himself. He turned into a huge, enormous, gigantic figure. His first step covered the whole of the Antariksha. The second step covered the surface of the earth. And there was no space left for the third step. Bali, to keep his word, offered his head. The Vamana avatar then put his third step on Bali's head and pushed him down to the core of the earth. In the struggle between the two species of man to survive, the Homo sapiens triumphed over the Homo erectus in form and intelligence. Man now had forwarded to being food collectors. Shifting from one place to the other, hunting and collecting, man had started living in the forests among other animals. They had learned the primordial art of making and using crude weapons. Vishnu's sixth incarnation, Parashuram, is the forest man with the axe who killed all the warrior class on the planet for avenging his father's murder. Later, he dedicated himself to become a yogi. As time elapsed, man learned to live in societies and form families. But with man's increasing familial ties, his responsibilities, duties, and moral inhibitions bounded his existence. Gradually emerged the concept of leading and following. The most influential and efficient person was chosen as the leader of the group to guide the society. Rama, the seventh incarnation of Vishnu, shows the evolution of man to a social being, where laws govern a man's world and the sinner is brought under the light of justice. Rama's journey of life until he returned to his homeland Ayodhya after winning Sri Lanka from Ravana unfolds many miseries humans have to triumph over to fulfill themselves as societal beings. With time, man, from being nomadic beings flocking from one place to another in the search of food and shelter, has learnt to settle at one place. He has become an agricultural being. Growing crops and rearing livestock has become his mainstay. The eighth incarnation of Vishnu, Sri Krishna, through his journey from a mischievous kid to the great philosopher, was iconized for putting the highest guidelines of human duties. He has unfolded how man has evolved till this stage of being a socio-analyst. Political foreseeing, eradicating acts of sin, protecting the innocents are the few motives of Sri Krishna's epic deeds. Man has now traversed to become the perfect social being. He has known to live amongst familial ties and has taken up societal responsibilities. Laws are present, if not constituted, and justice is the lesson that has been learned from each stage of evolution. Man is now traveling towards that stage where he would get answers to his curiosity, his questions for and about himself and that of his fellow men. He is stepping into the eternal path of knowledge, and his struggle is to achieve the nirvana, redeeming himself of his committed sins. Vishnu's last avatar till date is that of Buddha, the man who has embodied knowledge and has sought for truth, peace, and harmony of the animal world, countering the never-ending violence engulfing our planet. The Puranas have mentioned of another and the 10th incarnation of Vishnu, the Kalki, the yet to come, the future and the redeemer of humankind, the avatar who in future would arrive to shun man's violence, to bring an end to this catastrophic world and to start a new circle of species one more time. But do we envision such an incoming of the Kalki? Do we need our world to end? Have men not climbed enough the ladder of insurmountable violence and bloodshed? The earth, at its point of origin, was beautiful, and so was man, his each step of evolution. We don't want the arrival of the ultimate. Life can be restored, and violence and deaths can be overshadowed with compassionate hearts and beautiful minds who believe in peace and harmony. Let us leave all these discriminated inhibitions towards our fellow dwellers of the world. The world, as we have known now, after centuries of genocides, mass murders, ethnic and gender violence, has reached a pinnacle, and men would now fall, the ultimate fall, into the fire of eternal destruction. Let's live and let live. Let's bring a life to our planet and show her the beautiful silver lining of the sky.